Hello and welcome to the GrapeSEED Official Podcast. Welcome to the first podcast of 2023, everyone. And what better way is there to bring in the new year than with a Cindy's Corner episode? Say hi, Cindy.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. And thank you for having me again, Adam.
Of course. So in this series, we let Cindy, a coach in Japan, decide the topic. So what's on our menu today?
Okay, my topic today is the joy of learning.
Ooh,
This is what GrapeSEED believes in, and I want to talk about this today.
excellent. Let's go.
All right, so recently, this is before winter break, I watched some classes that made me think of this more, and I was thinking about it, and I thought this is something I really want to share with everyone. As you know, some teachers consider themselves strict and some lenient, right? The so-called lenient teachers tend to have issues with classroom management, and the so-called strict teachers tend to have the students getting scared of them and thus disliking English. And in some extreme cases, you have parents complaining or concerned as to what is going on in the classroom. I think we've all heard of these things. And although these are two extremes, one teacher allows the students to stand up in class, talk with their friends, use the bathroom, touch the teacher's stuff, name it, ignoring the teacher's commands, while the other goes, sit still, hands on your lap. If you'll disobey, you leave the classroom. It is my way or you're out. Sing the song, don't sing the song, etc. Although they are very different, they have a common issue, which is students lose motivation. And I think that in the long run, the teacher begins to lose motivation as well. So while schools have their policies and values, and everyone's circumstances and environment are different, with GrapeSEED, we want students to experience the joy of learning. I recently talked with a teacher who was very proud of her quote unquote strictness because that's how she learned at school. And she felt like that helped her learn. And that's how she was raised. She also shared how she liked the school, letting her do whatever, aka being herself. And she thought she was being respected and valued. And that is great, right? And I do understand where that may be coming from. But again, whoever you are, wherever you come from, and whatever your beliefs are, when teaching GrapeSEED, though, the focus should be on the student's joy of learning. And on the other hand, I've also talked with a teacher who said he knows he should manage his students better, but he didn't want to do that, again, quote unquote, too much, because he was afraid the students would then dislike him for not letting them do what they wanted to do when they wanted to do it. And he didn't want them to think, oh, Mr. So-and-so is too strict. At home, I can do whatever. In classroom, I have to listen to him. And as a result, his class was, I would just say, very challenging. It was really a everybody talking, nobody's listening situation. So I think it is important for teachers to remember the ultimate goal here is, again, to bring the joy of learning versus just doing it because that's the way you've always been, and that's who you are, and that's the way you do things.
I totally agree with you there, Cindy. I think listening to both of your stories there, even though they're about teachers that are having kind of opposite problems, I think another way to think about this is that those teachers and their reasons for wanting to be either very strict or not strict at all, those are almost personal reasons. Their focus is more on themselves rather than students and student success. So like you said, we want to be focused on the joy of learning for students and really encouraging students to enjoy their time in class. And if teachers are focused on that as their goal, as opposed to, oh, this is comfortable for me because I've always been in this situation, or I don't want to be seen as blah, 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 so I'm not going to manage my class properly.
Yes.
Those two reasons, those aren't student-centered reasons for doing your job properly. It's more like, this is just easier for me, or this is how, like, this image of me is, this is how I want it to be.
Right.
And those are very teacher and almost selfish in their perception.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it takes a while for some teachers to realize that, or come to that point where they realize, right? And as you mentioned, Adam, the joy of learning will only be possible when and if the students experience positive things in their classroom, like learning. And like we always say, authentic learning cannot take place where the affective filter is high. The affective filter goes up, as you know, under very stressful circumstances. So if the students are having fun learning, their affective filter will go up, go down. And likewise, where there are no rules and classroom management are not in place, the students feel confused and unsafe, which impacts their learning. The most apparent form of the joy of learning is intrinsic motivation. Our dear friend and colleague Savin talked about this way back there in the Coach Talk with you, Adam. For teachers that do not know what which video I'm talking about, it's in the teacher training courses on the portal, the J600 series Coach Talks. You guys talked about intrinsic motivation there, but to foster intrinsic motivation in students, the teacher has to find ways to coordinate instructional activities with students' preferences, interests, and engagement, as you mentioned, and their sense of challenge and competencies. So how will you do that if you are just focused on your style and the way you do things? When you can adapt to your students' needs, then the students are subsequently more able to enjoy the learning process and become more engaged.
Goodbye, my friends, goodbye. I'm sad to say goodbye. It was a good day, but now I will say goodbye, my friends, goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.